What's up? What's up? What's up, Facebook fam? It is Tuesday, and you know what goes down here on Tuesday. Wife Chat with Dr. Gail goes down here on Tuesday. And so I hope you guys are having an amazing day. I hope that you had an amazing Memorial Day weekend. I know the weather where I was a little gloomy and doomy, but it was still an amazing weekend because I got a chance to spend it with my family and we barbecued. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure that you're hitting the share button and letting all my one sexy wife know that Wife Chat is going down here. And so again, I pray that you had a amazing Memorial Day weekend, and I also hope that you got a chance to watch the documentary on Tulsa. So much of our history has been, kept from us, or not even we're not aware of it. And so I watched the documentary, and it kind of made me sad, just to know that that is not part of our history. Again, you guys, thank you so much for joining me here on Wife Chat. I'm super excited to be here tonight. And I just was saying, I pray that you had a great Memorial Day weekend and that you are still safe. And so tonight, I want to talk. This chat does not come from anybody. Actually, it comes from me dealing and talking to some of my coaching clients who are really struggling to understand what a happy marriage looks like, right? And I wanted to give you a different perspective, because a lot of times we just have 4 or 5 things that most people talk about and toss out what makes a happy marriage. And I want to give you some other things and some other tools and strategies just to look at if you're struggling to figure out, how to have a recipe for a happy marriage. I'm going to do my little opening and I will be back to teach. So again, thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you so much for hitting the share button. And so tonight I want to talk to you about a recipe for a happy marriage. And most of us know, we say communication is number one for a happy marriage. And that is 100% true. If you can communicate effectively with your spouse and not hit below the belt and listen to understand and not to respond, that is definitely it. If you have intimacy in your marriage, that is definitely a recipe for a happy marriage. If you have commitment in your marriage and you're committed to one another and you're committed to your vows, of course, that is a recipe for a happy marriage, right? If you're having amazing sex, right, and it's something that is pleasurable to you, absolutely, that is a recipe for an amazing marriage. But I want you to look and to shift a little bit, and all of those things in a marriage, and it is 100%, important. I have taught on those things extensively. And if you need that teaching or whatever, please go visit my YouTube channel. It's just Gail Crowder. But I want to give you a different perspective tonight on something that most people don't think about, that has to be a part of the recipe in order for your marriage to stay happy and healthy, right? And so the number one is, a lot of us are expecting our spouses to make us happy, right? And that is one of the biggest things that you shouldn't put on them, because it's not their job to make you happy, right? Happiness is an internal thing. Happiness is something that you have to find for yourself, right? Because if you're constantly looking and relying on your spouse to make you happy, that is where we fall short, because they were not created to make you happy. Yes, can they do things for you that makes you smile and bring you joy? Absolutely, right? And you should be doing that for them, and they should be doing that for you as well. But internal happiness that is sustained, right? beyond everything else that is going on in your life is a personal thing, and it's a heart thing, and it's something that nobody can do but you and God to give you sustainable happiness. And so I want to dispel that myth that your spouse is supposed to make you happy. And again, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're hitting the share button. Put in the comments where you're watching me from. I would love that. And so again, that's the first thing is that your spouse is not was not put in your life to make you happy. Yes, can you make happy memories? And yes, can you do things together that bring you joy? Absolutely. But the core of who you are is that something that you have to do internally for yourself. Number two, in order to have a recipe for a happy marriage, you need to stay very close to your own spiritual awakenings and your own core values, right? A lot of times we are looking for our spouse to be that prayer warrior, or we're looking for that spouse to provide the core values that you want for your life, right? And I understand that when you came together, you became one flesh. But when you are on this spiritual journey by yourself, your spouse can't get you to heaven. Can they help facilitate and lead you to Christ? Absolutely, right? Because Gail was a catalyst for me rededicating my life to Christ. But at the end of the day, I have to walk this spiritual journey out by myself, right? Just me and God. And I have to know my core values that bring Gail value, right? And a lot of times we're looking for somebody to pray us through. We're looking for somebody to guide us and to lead us. And yes, as the head of my household, Gail does all of those things. But at the end of the day, I need to learn to pray for myself. I need to understand what my spiritual values are. I need to understand that I can have a relationship with God outside of my husband, right? And that I can pray for myself and I can do all those things. Because a lot of times we're looking for our spouses to be the be all, the end all to everything. And that's not what they was created to do. Yes, they was created to pray for us. Yes, they was created to provide for us. Yes, they were created to be the head of our households. But at the end of the day, my relationship with God has nothing to do with Gail. It really doesn't. Do I pray for my husband? Absolutely. Do I intercede for my family? Absolutely. Do I do all of those things and vice versa? Does he do it for me? But at the end of the day, I need to be able to get my own prayer through. And a lot of times we're looking and we're upset and we're frustrated if our spouses are not praying and interceding and doing all the things that we think they should be doing, right? But again, you have to do this for yourself. And a lot of times, when people come to me, they're frustrated. They're like, he's not praying. We don't pray together. He's not making me happy, or whatever, all of these things. And it is so frustrating because that's not the thing that they were supposed to be. Hi, Conway. Thank you so much for watching me from Tobago. Thank you. You're on my YouTube channel. I appreciate you. Number three, keep your standards and your boundaries, right? So many of us get in marriages and we don't keep our standards and we don't have boundaries. And a lot of times when you don't keep your standards and you don't have boundaries, that's the reason why your marriage gets out of control. You have to know your worth and you have to understand and be able to articulate that to your spouse. And a lot of us have allowed things to go on in our marriages and we're carrying all of these hurt and all of these things. And then we step back and say, I wish I wouldn't have allowed this. I wish I would have, kept these certain standards, all of these things. And you're harboring all of these negative things about what happened in your marriage. And you could have avoided them if you was able to articulate your standards and your boundaries, right? Not saying that it's too late to go back and to say, these are the things that I need to be happening in this marriage in order for us to stay one whole healthy unit. But a lot of times we have let things get so far and then we want to do a 911 call, right? And fix everything in one thing. But it didn't take you that one day to get in the predicament. It's not going to take you 2 days to get out of it. It takes you just as long, right? And to set those boundaries, healthy boundaries for yourself and for your marriage, right? And a lot of times I'm telling you the recipe to keep your marriage healthy and strong, right? And I went over all the stuff that, most people talk about: communication, sex, fun. All of those things are important, but I'm giving you some other tools that need to be present in order for you not to get in a space where you're struggling in your marriage. Number 4, exercise the 5-to-1 rule. And what is the 5-to-1 rule, right? For every negative thing that is going on in your marriage, think about 5 things that you want to replace it with that's positive, right? We can always dwell on the negative things. It is so easy to dwell on the negative things. But what about the positive things that are going on in your marriage, right? And if there's nothing positive going on in your marriage, do something different to bring some positivity to the table, right? It's easy to stay and complain and talk about what the other person's not doing and all of those things. And I have asked, I don't know how many women, tell me what's going on, and they can tick it off as long as their arm. Men can do the same exact thing, right? But when I say what is positive about your spouse, people are like, and I'm like, well, does he or she go to work every day? Yes. Does he or she should come home every night? Yes. So those are positive things, because there's some spouses that are not working. There's some spouses that don't come home. There's some spouses that don't do anything, don't take out the trash, don't do anything. So we have to start thinking about the positive things that are in our marriages. And for every negative thing, replace it with 5 positive thoughts or 5 positive things that you can make out of that negative. Yes, happiness comes from within. You are so right, Carlene. I hope I said your name, Carlene, right. But you're right, it is. And God accepts you for who you are. You are 100% correct. And thank you so much for joining me on my YouTube channel. I appreciate you. So that's number 4. Number 5 is learn to see the good in your spouse, right? When you was dating them and you was having fun and y'all was doing all of those things, it was something about them for you to say I do in the first place, right? There's very few people that got married for, certain things, right? There are some people that got married just for money. They got married because they wanted out of a certain situation. But most of the time, people got married because they found something in their spouse that they loved, and they said, I do, and I can make this work, right? But a lot of times when it gets hard and things are not going our way and things are, or you feel like you're at your wit's end, you can't see your spouse in a positive way. And I know when Gail and I were at our wit's end, right? And we were like, I don't like you, you don't like me, we're good, right? God was like, Gail, you need to find what's positive, what brought you together in the first place. Now, forget about all the hurt, forget about all the stuff, the financial debt, all the stuff that you went through. What made you say I do to him in the first place? And that was a hard exercise for me to do. It was very hard for me to do, because when you're in that space, you always just go to the negative, right? But I had to dust off my eyes and start seeing him the way God seen him, right? And I went back and I was like, oh my God, we had fun. We did all the good qualities that made me say I do. I had to go back and relive them and rehearse them and begin to implement those things back. And I began to talk to him and say, remember when we did this? Let's do this. Remember when we used to do this? Let's do this. Let's sit down and begin to pray together again. Let's sit down and think about how we can redo these finances. All of those things that what I was talking about negative and saying I can't do it anymore, God showed me that I needed to turn it around and start talking positive, start talking life into not just my marriage, but into my husband, right? And it was hard. Don't get me wrong, it was very hard, right? Because at the end of the day, I was like, I'm done and he's done, so why are we doing this? But again, my commitment and my commitment to God was so strong, right, that I didn't want to grieve or disappoint him, right? Because at the end of the day, we put ourselves in that situation. Of course, I was pointing the finger at him and he was pointing the finger right back at me. But at the end of the day, we did it together. Anytime something is broken, it's just not one person's fault. And I had a hard time taking credit for it, my part. I had a hard time. But at the end of the day, we didn't get to where we were he didn't drive us there by himself, and I didn't drive us there by myself. It was a two person driving this marriage. And when God showed me that I had to look at it like that, it changed our trajectory. And so July the 20th, we'll be married 33 years. I've been married most of my life. So I know how to fix it. And so my prayer to you guys is that you start looking at your marriage differently, right? And you start implementing some of these things into your marriage, right? Nobody's perfect. Nobody, right? And at the end of the day, I want to see you win. 100% I want to see you win. And so with that being said, if you need to talk to me, make sure you go to gailcrowder.com, click the 15-minute thing. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not going to whatever. I will give you a tool or strategy that I know is going to work to help you implement in your marriage. Because again, I've been doing this work for over 17 years. I want to see you win. And so many marriages are failing for the smallest things. And I am committed to giving you good content, good information, and being here for you guys. Also, if you are in a sexless marriage, on my YouTube channel, I did this teaching on a sexless marriage, and I have over 14,000 people that have admitted they're in a sexless marriage. And so if you are in a sexless marriage, I'm holding a workshop on the 12th of this month, right? A 2-hour workshop, and I'm going to give you no fluff. I'm going to give you tools and strategies that is going to change your life and put you back in having amazing sex with your spouse, because there is a lot of reasons why people are in sexless marriage, but most of the time sexless marriages can be fixed, right? Unless you choose to be in a sexless marriage. So go to my website and find out more about that. Carla, me too. Next month, you'll be married 30 years. Congratulations. Carlene, I'm sorry. Congratulations. That is a feat these days. And again, I am here for you guys every single Tuesday for Wife Chat. If you have something you want me to talk about on Wife Chat, I am a 100% open book. I will answer any questions. Just inbox me, email me, or put it in the thread, because I always go back and read you guys' threads. I will always comment back if you want me to talk about something. If you have a question, I never will give your name or anything like that. I just ask that you tell me, where you're from, and I will present the information and give you my opinion on that. I'm also on my YouTube channel every single Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love you guys to pieces. I will see you on Thursday. Have a good night.